Am I the asshole for making my daughter listen to me talk to her husband and apologize for raising a cheater like her? My daughter recently moved back in with us after her relationship with her husband ended, following his discovery of an affair she was having with a coworker. Her husband is a good man, and I will be sorry to see him leaving our family. He did not deserve this. She admits as much, but I wanted him to know how sorry I was that things ended this way. I have been very hard on my daughter since she moved in. As much as she claims to recognize her mistakes, I don't believe her. She is in shock right now because she got caught and lost both men, but she hasn't learned her lesson. When I called her husband to apologize, I told her she was going to listen to the conversation because she needed to see the damage she had caused by her selfishness. I also wanted her to know how disgusted I was with her and how deeply ashamed I am of her and of her being my daughter. I told her husband that if given the choice, I would rather keep someone like him in our family than my own daughter because of her behavior. All of this had the effect I intended. But her mother thinks I was unnecessarily harsh with her and may do damage to our relationship. I told her mother that right now I was considering disowning her unless she showed some remorse and changed quickly. She needs tough love right now, in my view, and consequences.
Am I the asshole for reaching out to my sister's ex's new fling? My sister had been with this guy for 5 years until last night. I will call him David. David is an alcoholic at the ripe age of 24. He has shown my sister multiple times he does not care about her or her feelings, and they have a 1-year-old together. After the baby was born, his alcoholism started, and it's been getting worse since then. He is on probation for a DUI, but continues to drink and do hard drugs. My sister has refused to leave him, but that's besides the point. David has 2 other children, both with separate mothers, both of which he abandoned in Puerto Rico. My family lent my sister and David our family Christmas tree for the recent holiday, so the baby would have a Christmas tree because their money was tight. 2 days ago, I found out David and his brother were blackout drunk and smashed the entire tree with all the ornaments from my sister and I's childhood. Everything is gone. I have let his probation officer know and have filed a police report for damaged property. This was my final straw with him. At his new job, he has been reportedly flirting or hooking up with one of his coworkers. This coworker just so happens to be an old friend of mine from high school. Yesterday, David broke up with my sister over text, so I reached out to the girl. I told her everything that he has done and how he is an alcoholic and is a frequent drug user. She had no idea about any of it, let alone he had 3 kids and was in a 5-year-long relationship. She proceeded to tell me she had already gotten a weird feeling from him when he called her over 100 times a few nights ago at 3 a.m. Then, when she finally answered, he called her all kinds of names for not picking up sooner. We ended the conversation with her saying, "Thank you for letting me know. I had no idea. I'm so glad I didn't get too involved with him before I knew all of this. My sister thinks I shouldn't have reached out to my friend, and it will just cause more issues between herself and David. David does not want a single thing to do with my sister, and has shown her that for a year now. However, she wants to stay in her own fantasy, that everything will be fixed and he will change."
Am I the asshole because I invited both my divorced parents to my wedding? So me and my fiancé are about to be married. My mom and dad do not get on whatsoever, and because of this, I plan to elope. Eventually, I asked both parents, if I was to get married and he or she, my dad or mom, was there, would you be okay and be supportive of me and my future wife? My dad answered, of course, it's about you and her, my fiancé. My mom said no and was gobsmacked. I'd even asked him because they broke up 15 years ago, and it wasn't a nice breakup. My mom thinks I shouldn't invite him because she has financially supported me more than my father, but me and my father have a very different bond. My mom hates my dad and doesn't like me having a relationship with him, and she doesn't understand or thinks it's not fair on her that I'm inviting him. I asked my mom 3 times, and her answer was no. No and no. I'm stuck in the middle here. She wants me to exclude my dad and let her come because she's supported me more, when I want them both there. Her side of the feud is saying I'm the bad one for inviting him and not excluding him, and his side is saying it's yours and your fiance's day. My mother is now completely blanking me, being quite rude, saying, "Stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours." My fiancé is really sad and upset all this has kicked off, and she's shaken by it all because she's not used to the anxiety and high tension that I'm used to with my mom.
Am I the asshole? My very close friend has become a serial heartbreaker. Am I the asshole for not risking our friendship to fight over it? Okay, so my spouse and I have a very close friend that has become a bit of a serial heartbreaker. His girlfriend cheated on him 2 years ago and truly broke his heart. It took him months and months to accept that the relationship was over, and I really believe it traumatized him. He was talking about proposing to the cheater before he knew about the cheating. When he started dating again, I was so supportive and excited for him to move on. But now it's been about a year of very consistent behavior. He starts seeing a woman, totally love bombs her. They get super romantic right away. Long late night chats, expensive gifts, seeing each other multiple nights a week. For a while, he talks about her constantly, gushes about how hard he's crushing, etc., and then poof, he suddenly loses interest. Almost every time, it's when she wants to be more serious. At the beginning, he would lose interest and break it off. But recently, he has been continuing to see the women, even after he's decided that it's just fun and she isn't the one. He insists that he communicates that to them, but I'm telling you, these girls are not acting casual. If I was friends with the women he's seen, I would low-key hate him on their behalf. He sees himself as a feminist and thinks he's being totally honest about what his emotional availability is, but I think he's blind or stupid, and the behavior is only getting worse with time. I've tried to gently explain, but it's not coming across. I do not want to betray the girlies, but I also really want my friend to find love. Am I the asshole for speaking out at my mother? I still live with my mother and stepdad. I am currently in college, and I do have a job that I go to on weekends and days when I finish college early. I make enough to survive on necessities for me and my hedgehog that I took in and decided to take care of myself. I make usually around minimum wage or even less as a student, but it's enough. Not enough, though, for me to have my own home. I also have a brother who moved out right away to his girlfriend's house. He doesn't have a job yet and lives off what they can scrap up from past jobs. A week ago, my brother called my mother asking her for $100. Of course, my mother, who would do anything for her child, did, but instead of them buying groceries or necessities, they added that money for a new insert useless electronic. She didn't mind, though. She only added that he has to return the money when available to do so. This month, I didn't get paid myself because the company and student workforce company had complications through their system and money was unable to transfer through. So they asked me to wait till next month. I had some saved money, so I didn't complain. But now, after paying half of my shared bills, food and animal care, I am completely out. Last night, I asked her if she can lend me $20, for my hedgehog, and so I could have $5 for emergencies for college. She started huffing and complaining about it, making a whole deal about it, like I asked her for $200 instead of $20. I carefully explained how I'm short on funds and that my hedgehog still needs food and wooden pellets for his cage. Also, that in 2 weeks, I'll return the whole $20. She wasn't hearing it, throwing a fit and telling me, "You are old enough to survive on your own, and if you need money, then go start asking for it in the streets." I was hurt, but also pissed. I brought up the many times I lent her money so she could go to the mountains and drink or buy herself clothes. How many times I had to take care of her, necessary or not, and how she sometimes didn't even pay me back. I told her it was unfair that she could still lend that much to my brother while she can't even lend me $20 for necessities. I barely ever asked for money, and when I did, I always returned it. We got into a huge fight where I yelled and brought up her drinking problems in the past, and how I had to take care of her as a kid, and how many times I was quiet when she met another man behind my stepdad's back. And most importantly, how she always prioritized my brother over me. She seemed hurt by my truth, and I feel bad for yelling at my own mother. Am I the asshole for wanting my stepdad to divorce my mom? My stepdad and my mother have been together since I, now 29, was 15. They married when I was 20. Things were good at first. I was happy that my mom found a really good and loving man. He treats me and her very well. Over the past 2 years or so, my mother has been changing. She's become cold and cruel. She talks to me about her issues they have, and 9 times out of 10, she's wrong. She complains about everything, how she has to take care of his elderly mother, and how stressful it is. But all she does is bring her meals. My stepdad does everything else. She gets mad when his 90-year-old mother with dementia can get slick. I keep telling her not to spend so much time in her mother-in-law's room if it's really bothering her. She ignores that advice and continues to complain. She complains about not having date nights, but when my stepdad and I suggest something, she's not interested. She says she wants to be surprised, but when he does it, she's still unhappy. Randomly, she'll decide not to speak to him for a day. She works in an office with not much to do. He can't be on his phone at work. She'll blow his phone up with texts talking about how stressed she is, and if she or his mother dies, it's on him and everything is his fault. She keeps mentioning getting divorced, and I'm glad he shows me the messages because she always paints herself as a victim. Then she'll switch it up and be nice for about a day or two. Then she's back to being Mrs. Hyde. It's confusing. She's incredibly condescending and passive-aggressive. None of us want to be around her anymore. My stepdad says he's over it and can't handle being berated every single day, especially when he's at work. It's her way or the highway. I'm sick of it. I'm glad he's seriously considering a divorce, and I hope he follows through. This is abuse. He's been through a lot and deserves much better. And when it does happen, she can't come to me crying. She did this to herself.
Am I the asshole for refusing to meet with my ex-wife alone or talk to her on the phone when she's alone out of respect for her new husband? My ex-wife and I divorced 8 years ago. She has been remarried for 5. We divorced because she cheated on me, didn't even try to hide it, and flat out told me she didn't love me anymore. My son lives with her in another state. I recently drove up to visit and crashed with my parents who live in the same state. He wanted to bring his game console over so we could play some games since my parents have very little to do. I said sure, but my ex-wife said no, but I could come to their house and play it in his room. I asked if her new husband was home. She said no. He was at work as it was the middle of the workday. This made me uncomfortable. In the past, I don't like when she calls me when her husband isn't home. I think it is disrespectful. I will admit she only ever talks about my son, like arrangements for switches and happenings at school. Have I got the reimbursement request for this or that yet? She has never talked to me sexually or romantically, but she talks very nicely, too nicely sometimes, asking how I am doing and how is my mom who has been battling cancer. That makes me uncomfortable. I just think she owes her husband some respect by not talking to former partners without him being there and having access to the conversation. When I went to pick my son up that evening, I was explaining to him that I was sorry we couldn't game together. He said his stepdad said it was fine and asked what the problem was, but it still made me uncomfortable. A former partner should not be in the house when the new partner isn't there. I told my son we would have fun doing something else. My ex-wife told me I was weird and that it was disrespectful to her for me to have to check with her husband before I talked to her on the phone or came in her house. My sister called me an asshole when I told her. My father seems to think I am in the right. He says it is smart to clue the new husband in and not have private conversation with an ex.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever you're tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for some juicy deets. Am I the asshole for frantically calling my boyfriend at work on his lunch to check if he took both of our laptop chargers to work by mistake? I've been staying with my boyfriend for the past few weeks. I'm able to work from home while he isn't. Yesterday he left for work in the morning, kissed me goodbye, the usual. A couple or so hours after he left, I was searching for my laptop charger. I couldn't find it, after thoroughly searching both his room and the living room. We had been texting back and forth throughout the morning, and I had sent a text asking if he could check if he had mistakenly taken both my charger and his with him, but he didn't respond. I then texted his roommate asking to borrow his and still hadn't received a reply. By now, I'm beginning to panic. I had enough juice for the daily work calls I have, but not for doing my actual work. I waited for his lunch break to call, but he didn't pick up. I left multiple texts explaining that I needed him to please check, and tried calling a few more times over his lunch break to no avail. In all this, his roommate did wake up and offered a charger, but unfortunately it wasn't compatible with my computer. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of work to do, but I was still yelled at by my boss for going MIA, even though I had sent a message through the Skype app on my phone explaining the situation. My boyfriend finally came home in the evening and proceeded to yell at me for disrupting a meeting he was in and making him look bad. He then proceeded to fling the laptop charger at me. Turns out he had taken both by mistake, and no, it didn't hit me. The thing is, I know I can't be the asshole for not knowing that yesterday, of all days, a meeting was scheduled during his lunch, and for actually needing to get a hold of him for something essential to my work. But where I might be the asshole, he's had issues with exes being clingy and expecting him to answer the phone whenever they called, even if it was while he was at work or with others. I feel like this might have been a case of that, and I never wanted to do that to him. I always let him know that the day I do that, it would have been for an actual emergency, which I honestly believe this was.
Am I the asshole for getting upset over a false paternity test? My wife and I have been married for 10 years. We met in college, and she has been my best friend for almost 14 years now. She is beautiful, supportive, kind, classy, and all around amazing as a wife. We went through a really rough patch about a year ago, mostly due to issues on my end. However, she told me she was pregnant. I was overjoyed. She told me she would only keep it if I was 100% in on the baby and the marriage. I said I was fully committed, and we kept the baby. As time went on, I became increasingly insecure about whether or not the baby was mine. I did the math and thought it was unlikely it was mine, on top of having a gut feeling. I was internally agonizing over this for months, and after the baby was born, I could barely even hold him because I was so convinced he wasn't mine. I told my wife I wanted a paternity test. She was upset but told me to get one if it would ease my mind. The test comes back 2 weeks later and it says I am not the father. I'm absolutely livid. I had an out-of-body experience. I stormed into our house and just let loose. I felt like I couldn't stop myself. I was completely broken in that moment. I cried and screamed and asked her what I did to deserve this. I absolutely never laid a hand on her. The whole time, she's just sitting on the couch trying to comfort the baby. This made me even angrier for some reason, so I kicked her out right then and there. Told her to pack her bags and just get out. She calls me the next day and tells me that I deserve to know that the baby is mine and asks me to get a paternity test from another company. I figure I have nothing to lose at this point, and another paternity test can only help me in a divorce, so we get one at the company she suggested, and I sent a third to another company just to be sure. I get the results from one and they say I am the baby's father. I wait a few days and don't say anything, then get the second set of results, also confirming I'm the father. I feel like the weight of the world has just been lifted off my shoulders and I can finally be the dad I want to be. I call my wife to give her the good news and she tells me she's not moving back in. She says she's disgusted with how I acted by asking for a paternity test and my reaction to the false one. She tells me I can come see my son, but she will be filing for divorce. I don't think my reaction was over the top for a man who thought he was being lied to about one of the most important things. I never showed any sort of violence, and I was so emotionally broken at that point. I know how it must have looked to her, knowing that I was the father, but I don't think she's seeing it from my perspective. I'm planning on discussing it with her later and trying to convince her to work on it with me when I go see my son.
Am I the asshole for telling my recently divorced sister to stop moping and get a job? I am in a tricky situation with my family. I think I'm doing the right thing, but everyone's acting like I'm being a villain. I live in a house with my parents and grandma. All of us work full-time, except my grandma who's retired. I pay rent to contribute towards utilities and help my parents with their mortgage payments. I also pay the internet bill, streaming subscriptions, and phone bills. My younger sister, Holly, moved back into the house around 4 weeks ago. She got pregnant at 16, and at 17, she moved out into her boyfriend's parents' house. They got married as soon as they were both 18, and now have 4 kids. In the summer, they moved out of his parents' house and into a rental house. They ended up fighting a lot over disagreements on how the household chores should be split and some various other issues to do with the house. They soon separated and their divorce is in progress. Holly came back here, and her ex moved back in with his parents and took the kids with him. Holly sees them for a few hours on weekends and seems fine with this arrangement, much to my parents' dismay. I don't have an issue with Holly being here, and I know she needed somewhere to stay and her family's support. My issue is that she has spent this whole time moping around the house, scrolling on TikTok all day, and going out with friends. She doesn't clean up after herself or help out with any household chores. She has never had a proper job, been a stay-at-home mom with the kids, and keeps saying she will get one, but hasn't even started job hunting despite me and my brother writing a resume for her. My parents have been paying for all her expenses. One of my friends is a manager at a cafe, and she told me they were hiring and that Holly could get a job there if she's willing to learn how to be a barista. I told Holly about this, and she immediately shut me down and said that she won't work in a cafe because it's embarrassing and she doesn't want to work early mornings. This turned into an argument because I couldn't understand why Holly would turn this down and felt like she was just being lazy and picky. I told Holly she can't just mope around the house all day every day, and she needs to get a job or think about college. Holly told me to fuck off and that it's her life. My parents got involved and told me that it's not been that long since the separation and that I can't expect Holly to be happy and normal. They said that she needs time and that my expectations of her are too high. I think they are being too soft on her, and she needs to stop acting like a teenager. Am I the asshole for telling my brother to stop hating our mom just because she cheated? My mom had me young. She says she got pregnant weeks after turning 18, and my brother Eric 2 years later. Our parents were not perfect. They never even married. I remember so much yelling and arguing. Yeah, there were a lot of happy moments, and they always tried not to fight in front of us, and maybe that's why Eric thinks it was great. But it wasn't. When I was 10, Mom ended up cheating with a neighbor, and of course, it resulted in a breakup. The happiest memory I have before that time is that on weekends, Eric and I would both go to Mom's bed, and she would hold us both in her arms, and we'd fall asleep in her arms watching TV. That ended after that, because Eric absolutely refused to see Mom. I did too at first, but then after a few months, Dad told me one day that I could stay angry, or I could see that she's still my mom, and pointed out if she didn't love us, she wouldn't have fought for custody. So I started going, but every time Eric went, he would just ignore her and everything, and even starve himself. I don't know why my little brother got so filled with hate. It's not like Mom doesn't hate herself for what she did. Like Mom hasn't dated anybody or anything since the breakup. When I asked why, she said that she doesn't deserve it. I mean, I get it. I'm the firstborn, and that I bring Mom some happiness, but he's her baby. She's always had a special place for him. She didn't get to see his prom, his graduation, or his undergrad graduation. She hasn't even met his fiancé. And at my wedding, he completely ignored her again and refused to be in any photos with her. As his wedding is approaching, Mom's been getting so much sadder. She was a gym junkie, and now she won't even go there. She didn't even go to a reunion with some people she served with, and she looked forward to that for so long. She's always been so sad that he hates her so much, and now nothing can cheer her up. Like Dad is busy finishing his master's in psych, so he's way too busy to be dealing with Eric's hate. So when he rants, it's now up to me. So honestly, after his latest rant, I told my brother to stop hating our mom just because she cheated, because she never stopped loving us, and he just had a fantasy wrapped in his head about what our life was like. He got mad at me and called me an asshole. So I told him that if this is the person he's going to be, then he's going to lose me too. He's been seething since, but I'm honestly wondering if I was the asshole to tell him to just get over it, because I know it doesn't work like that. Am I the asshole for inserting myself in my boyfriend's and the mother of his son's affairs? So this is a long one. I have a boyfriend, and we dated in high school, then drifted apart as young people do. We started talking to each other and became friends again while he was still living with his then pregnant fiancée. I was there for him while they were going through a really rough patch. Before they broke up, she'd show up wherever we were at and confronted me multiple times about our friendship. I assured her nothing was going on and it wasn't good enough for her. She's had a vendetta against me since then. They broke up, and I don't know many details besides her fleeing and hiding for months with the baby after he was born. This was during the pandemic, and the custody hearing took a very long time. When he finally saw his son, it was at a center where he had to be supervised with his baby. It was really cruel. During the time she cut my boyfriend out, our relationship grew and we moved in with each other. She then randomly started asking for money for the baby. We both told her that if she couldn't afford to keep the baby full-time, that we could take the baby. If she had him full-time, she needed to be financially responsible for him. Before this was finalized, the mother and me met in person because she said she wasn't comfortable with her son being around someone she didn't know. I thought things were smoothed over, but obviously not. She has never liked me. She and my boyfriend threw a joint birthday party for their son, and I was not invited. She may think I'm petty, but the day after the party, I served her with papers for my boyfriend to contest child support payments. She opened the door, and all I said was, "I'm sorry," and like a child, she laughed at me and slammed the door in my face. I feel like all of this resentment has been building up between us both, and I've tried my hardest to not have any bad blood with her. So this is where I need to know if I'm an asshole or not. She recently confronted me about some social media posts that one of our mutuals told her about and believes are aimed at her. I had shared some posts regarding child support and custody things. It basically said that if a parent is keeping their child from another parent and using them as a pawn, it's abuse. She told me to stop inserting myself in their affairs, whether it's custody, child support, or her son. She said, "I don't know what she's been through and sound ignorant." I told her I'll insert myself where I see fit, and if she believes my posts are aimed at her, that's on her. This was all over text, and she never replied to me after I said this. I think she's an asshole for being rude to me when I've done nothing wrong.